A very good afternoon. You're watching the midday news on Rajya Sabha television. I'm Aishwarya Kapoor with you, and here are the headlines. Prime Minister underlines ASEAN's centrality in India's Act East policy and Indo-Pacific region at ASEAN-India meet. Reaffirms cooperation in maritime domain. Highlights centrality of trade and investment in prosperity for the region. Attends 13th East Asia Summit in Singapore. Election campaigning picks steam in 5 states. Home Minister Rajnath Singh's multiple rallies for the second phase of Chhattisgarh polls. BJP President Amit Shah's rallies in Madhya Pradesh. Congress and TDP release a respective second list of candidates for Telangana. Cyclone Gaja likely to make landfall in Tamil Nadu today evening. State authorities hold review meeting. Schools in Puducherry and 6 districts of Tamil Nadu closed today. Navy put on high alert. British Prime Minister Theresa May wins backing from her cabinet for crucial Brexit deal, calls it a decisive step. EU and British government jointly published details of the draft that must be agreed by EU leaders and the UK Parliament. And Mary Kom to aim for historic 6th gold medal as the Women's Boxing Championship begins in Delhi. 300 participants from 72 countries taking part, including 10-member Indian team. First up, let's get you all the news on Prime Minister Narendra Modi's 2-day Singapore visit. World leaders are attending the East Asia Summit in Singapore, and Prime Minister Narendra Modi is attending the plenary session of the summit. Ahead of the summit, the Prime Minister attended the ASEAN-India Informal Breakfast Summit. He underlined the need for maritime cooperation and centrality of trade for the prosperity of the strategic Indo-Pacific region. The Prime Minister further said that he had a great interaction with the ASEAN leaders and that we are happy that ties with the ASEAN are strong and are contributing to a peaceful and prosperous planet. He highlighted the ASEAN's centrality in India's Act East policy and Indo-Pacific region. And Prime Minister Modi also felicitated the winners of the first India Singapore Hackathon today. It is a platform for the youth of the two countries to harness and showcase their innovations. The Nanyang Technological University in Singapore and the All India Council for Technical Education conducted the hackathon that included solving 8 problem statements. And reacting following the meeting, the Prime Minister said that he is happy to meet the innovators who won prizes. He added he was impressed by their passion and commitment towards solving problems facing the world. 20 teams, including each from both the countries, comprising university and college students, were selected on a nationwide basis, and they participated in the event to harness and showcase the innovation potential of the youth. Each of these teams had 3 students and 1 mentor. From India, an 83-member delegation comprising 60 students, 20 mentors and 3 officials of the AICTE visited Singapore for the event. The Prime Minister also added that such platforms are a boost to technology, innovation and youth power. And Prime Minister Modi also met the National Cadet Corps today who were in Singapore as part of the Cadet Exchange program. Following the meeting, the Prime Minister tweeted, "Wonderful moments with my young friends." He said that they shared their memorable learnings and experiences with the 20 NCC cadets were visiting Singapore as part of the exchange program. And early on Wednesday, Prime Minister Modi attended the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership Meet. He also gave a keynote address at the prestigious FinTech Festival, the world's largest event on financial technology, besides meeting the leaders of various countries on the sidelines of the East Asia Summit. Here is a report.
On the first day of his Singapore visit, PM Modi took part in the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership Summit. Leaders of 16 countries in the Asia-Pacific area reaffirmed their commitment to the RCEP after they failed to conclude the deal earlier this week. A joint statement said member countries closed 7 of the 18 chapters of the Trade Pact, up from 5 chapters before this week's meetings. The new chapters are sanitary measures and rules on industrial standards, but sensitive ones include e-commerce rules and lowering of tariffs are still up for negotiation.
India is strongly committed. And as regards concern, since the developmental circumstances of each of the country is different, and therefore he urged that any such agreement should be, which is finalized, should be modern, comprehensive, balanced and mutually beneficial.
Prime Minister Modi's jam-packed schedule also included meetings with the Prime Minister of Singapore on the sidelines of the East Asia Summit. Both exchanged views on cooperation in financial technology, enhanced connectivity and regional economic integration. Prime Minister Modi and US Vice President Mike Pence also met to discuss a wide range of bilateral and global issues of mutual interests, including defense and trade cooperation, ways to counter terrorism and the need for maintaining a free and open Indo-Pacific.
There was a lot of discussion on energy. This is a new sector in Indo-US relations. We have begun importing oil and gas from the United States. It is expected to be valued at about $4 billion this year. And we expressed our readiness to import more gas and more oil from the United States as a way of expanding trade. Another area which we felt also would be important on the economic front would be the defense sector. There, of course, both sides agreed that there has been a substantial enhancement in our defense relationship.
The day also saw Modi meeting Prime Ministers of Australia and Thailand to discuss ways to strengthen ties, including in areas of trade, defense and security. Earlier, Prime Minister Modi delivered a keynote address at the FinTech Festival or Financial and Technology event. He said in the last few years, India has taken a leap in technology, pitching India as best investment destination for FinTech companies and startups. The Prime Minister said the world's largest infrastructure has been created with the help of biometric identity, new bank accounts and cell phones. The PM also launched Application Programming Interface Exchange, a global FinTech platform.
There is an explosion of fintech innovation and enterprise in India. It has turned India into a leading fintech and startup nation in the world. The future of fintech and Industry 4.0 is emerging in India. Our youth are developing apps that are making the dream of paperless, cashless, presenceless, and yet safe and secure transactions possible for all.
The two-day Singapore visit will see the Prime Minister take part in the East Asia Summit. This is PM's second visit to Singapore this year and his fifth engagement at the East Asia Summit. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
And Prime Minister Modi also attended a gala dinner hosted by the Prime Minister of Singapore on Wednesday. PM Modi, along with other East Asia Summit leaders, interacted before the gala dinner. And the MEA in its tweet said, Mahatma's message of peace lighting the way. Vaishnav Janto lights up at the convention centre at Singapore as PM Modi arrives for the dinner. On to some other news now. The government on Wednesday recommended its decision on the dates of the winter session of Parliament to President Rajnath Singh. The Cabinet Committee on Parliamentary Affairs has recommended convening the winter session from 11th of December till 8th of January. The session will be the last full-fledged Parliament session of the Narendra Modi-led government before the next year's Lok Sabha polls. The government is likely to push for the passage of the Triple Talaq Bill, which is pending in the Rajya Sabha. It is also keen for the passage of the Indian Council of Amendment Ordinance and also the Companies Amendment Ordinance in this session. And ahead of the session, the Minister of State for Parliamentary Affairs, Gehlot, sought the cooperation of all parties for the smooth functioning of Parliament during the 20-day-long session.
तीन जो महत्वपूर्ण अध्यादेश हैं उसमें एक मुस्लिम महिलाओं के अधिकारों को लेकर है, दूसरा इंडियन मेडिकल काउंसिल के ऊपर है और तीसरा कंपनीज अमेंडमेंट के ऊपर है। इसके अलावा 8 राज्यसभा में और 15 लोकसभा में महत्वपूर्ण जो बिल हैं वो उस पर चर्चा होगी और मैं समझता हूँ कि बहुत से और महत्वपूर्ण विषय आएंगे। सरकार पहले से ही कहती है कि वो हर विषय पर जो भी संसद में नियमों के अनुसार है उस पर चर्चा करने के लिए तैयार है।
And in midday news, time for a very short break here. We'll be right back with more news.
Tales that inspire. Stories of social change. A salute to diversity. Promoting public discourse. Events that motivate. Inspiring the innovative spirit. Watch Rajya Sabha television documentaries.
Welcome back after the break, and now our special segment on all the election news from 5 poll-bound states. Well, campaigning has picked steam for elections to the 5 states, and in Chhattisgarh today, Home Minister Rajnath Singh is holding rallies in 4 places. The election meetings are in Sarainpally, Sarangarh, Pratappur and Kota constituencies. The second phase of elections to the state will take place on 20th of November. Meanwhile, BJP President Amit Shah is campaigning in Madhya Pradesh today. He is holding 3 rallies in the state in Badwani, Shajapur and in Ujjain. Polling to the 230-member state assembly takes place on 28th of November. More news from Madhya Pradesh. A total of 538 candidates withdrew their names from the Madhya Pradesh election. Now, 2,932 candidates are left for the 230-member assembly polls to be held on 28th of November. Meanwhile, Chief Election Commissioner O.P. Rawat has said that the proceedings at the 14,000 polling booths in the state will be webcast. The measure was being taken as part of the efforts of the Election Commission to ensure free and fair elections. He said this while ending the Election Commission's 2-day tour of the state to review poll preparations.
कमीशन ये अब दावे के साथ कह सकता है कि मध्य प्रदेश में सारे अधिकारियों ने बहुत कर्मठता से, लगन से और मेहनत से नेतृत्व के निर्देशों का पालन करते हुए काम किया है और तैयारियां बहुत संतोषजनक स्तर पर पहुंची हैं और उम्मीद की जानी चाहिए कि अगले 12 दिनों में भी इन तैयारियों का पर्याप्त प्रभाव पड़ेगा और मध्य प्रदेश में अच्छा चुनाव, फ्री, फेयर और क्रेडिबल इलेक्शन हो सकेगा।
News from Rajasthan. The BJP has announced its second list of 31 candidates for the Rajasthan Assembly election, dropping 15 sitting MLAs, including 3 ministers. The BJP has so far announced the names of 162 candidates in the 200-member assembly. Outgoing ministers Babulal Verma, Rajkumar Rinwa and Dhan Singh Rawat have been denied tickets. Assembly elections in Rajasthan will be held on 7th of December, and remember the party had won 163 out of 200 assembly seats in the state in 2013. More news from Rajasthan, where poll authorities have received a total of 145 nominations from 119 candidates in Rajasthan on Wednesday. Many Congress hopefuls have also filed their nominations, even though the party is yet to announce its list of candidates. Now, so far, 152 candidates have filed 192 seats of nominations. The last day for the filing of nominations is the 19th of November. And former Rajasthan Chief Minister Ashok Gehlot and Pradesh Congress Committee President Sachin Pilot on Wednesday announced that they will contest the 7th of December Assembly elections in the state. The party is, however, yet to announce its list of candidates. Now, Gehlot is at present MLA from Jodhpur's Sardarpura constituency and is likely to be repeated from there itself. And Sachin Pilot, who has reportedly never contested an assembly election before but has been the party's Lok Sabha MP from Ajmer, might contest from the same district. The Congress is yet to announce its candidates list for the Rajasthan Assembly elections. News from Telangana, where the Congress and the TDP released their respective second list of candidates for the state elections. The two parties are yet to thrash out their issues over seat sharing. Now, besides the two parties, the alliance comprises Telangana Jan Samiti, which is insisting on contesting 12 seats as against the 8 allotted, and the CPI. The second list of Congress comprised 10 nominees, and with this, the total number of candidates declared by the Congress party so far has gone up to 75. TDP named 2 candidates in its second list, in addition to the 9 announced earlier. On Wednesday, the CPI also announced nominees for the 3 seats that it is contesting. Meanwhile, the Telangana Rashtra Samiti on Wednesday announced 10 more candidates for the 7th of December Assembly elections in the state. The party had earlier declared candidates for 107 assembly segments, and the total number of constituencies, remember, is 119. And candidates for the remaining 2 seats would be declared in 1 or 2 days after consultations. Remember, TRS is going alone in the polls. The process of filing nomination concludes on 19th of November. Meanwhile, caretaker Chief Minister and TRS Supremo K. Chandrasekhar Rao filed his nomination papers for the Gajwel Assembly constituency. The Congress has pitted Venturu Pratap Reddy against him. And caretaker Irrigation Minister T. Harish Rao, who is contesting from Siddipet constituency, also filed his nomination. BJP candidate N. Ram Vardhana Rao filed his papers as well. He is the floor leader for the BJP in the Legislative Council. News from Mizoram, where a total of 201 candidates are in the fray for the assembly elections after 3 nominees opted out of the contest on Wednesday. Yesterday was the last day for the withdrawal of nomination papers. And according to officials, 212 nomination papers were received till Friday, with 8 nominees, including the Chief Minister of the state, Lal Thanwala, contesting from 2 seats each. During scrutiny, all the nomination papers were found to be valid. 3 nominees withdrew their candidature on Wednesday. Election to the 40-member Mizoram Assembly will be held on 28th of November. And well, the big story coming in from Mizoram, where the Election Commission has appointed IS officer Ashish Kundra as poll-bound Mizoram's new chief electoral officer, replacing SP Shashank. Remember, the order came after some civil society groups in Mizoram demanded Shashank's ouster. The Election Commission had earlier asked the Mizoram government for a panel of names to replace Shashank. And a very short break here. We'll be right back. Stay tuned.
The prolific British poet and story writer Joseph Rudyard Kipling, one of the first masters of short stories in English. In 1894 appeared his Jungle Book, which became a children's classic all over the world. Kim, the story of Kimball O'Hara and his adventures in the Himalayas, is perhaps his most felicitous work published. Set in and concerned with India he had come to know and love so well. In 1907, Kipling became the first English language writer to receive the Nobel Prize for Literature.
Welcome back after the break. News from the south of the country. The cyclonic storm Gaja is set to make a landfall between Cuddalore and Pamban coast of Tamil Nadu today evening. State authorities held a review meeting earlier today, and 4 NDRF teams and 4 Tamil Nadu State Disaster Response Force teams have been positioned. 380 first responders will respond to the needs of the people and 159 responders will protect animals. Efforts to evacuate people have also been started. Now, according to the Met Department, the cyclone is expected to intensify further into a severe cyclone during its mid-sea phase later today and then weaken into a cyclone while reaching the shores. The Indian Navy also has been put on high alert in view of the Cyclone Gaja approaching the coast of South Tamil Nadu and Puducherry. And Navy officials said that the Eastern Naval Command has assumed a high degree of readiness to render necessary humanitarian assistance. 2 Indian naval ships, Ranveer and Khanjar, are also on standby to proceed to the most affected areas to undertake humanitarian and distress relief.
It is expected that Gaja cyclone will have a landfall in the late night of today. As per the information that we are getting, it might be south of Cuddalore, that is in Nagapattinam district. But you know, the area of the cyclone can be different, and it can be a wider area. So if Nagapattinam is getting the cyclone, the impact will also be there on Cuddalore district. So in this regard, we have asked the people who are there in vulnerable areas, especially in huts and tin sheets and weak tiled houses, we have asked them to shift to the cyclone shelters today evening, stay overnight in the cyclone shelters, and thereafter, based on the conditions available in the morning, they can get back to their houses based on the conditions available.
The biggest international focus after months of wrangling, Britain's Brexit journey took a significant leap forward as British Prime Minister Theresa May secured the support from her cabinet for the draft divorce deal with the European Union. May said that she had won the backing of her senior ministers after a debate that lasted for 5 hours. She said it was a decisive step in the progress of Brexit and would allow the agreement to be finalized. The EU's chief negotiator said that it was in both sides' interests. The withdrawal agreement covers so-called divorce issues. It includes a commitment to protect the rights of EU nationals in the UK and the Britons living in the EU to continue living, working and studying. And there's also a planned 21-month transition period after the UK leaves the EU in March 2019 and also a financial settlement from the UK. Cabinet backing gives the Prime Minister crucial breathing space, but May must now get the deal through the House of Commons.
The Cabinet has just had a long, detailed and impassioned debate on the draft withdrawal agreement and the outline political declaration on our future relationship with the European Union. These documents were the result of thousands of hours of hard negotiation by UK officials and many, many meetings which I and other ministers held with our EU counterparts. I firmly believe that the draft withdrawal agreement was the best that could be negotiated. This is a decisive step which enables us to move on and finalise the deal in the days ahead.
Sports news now. The Women's World Boxing Championship has begun in Delhi. This 10th edition of the tournament is set to be the biggest ever, as more than 300 boxers from 72 countries are participating. Celebrated boxer MC Mary Kom is aiming for a historic 6th gold at the event, which is being hosted by India for the first time since 2006, when the country had topped the table with the 4 gold, 1 silver and 3 bronze medals. Now, Mary Kom is currently tied with Katie Taylor on 5 gold medals, and 1 more will make her the most successful woman boxer in history. And in the last edition, India won just a silver through Sonia Lather in the 57 kg category. The 10-member Indian team led by Mary Kom is a mix of seasoned and young boxers. The 10-day championship, which runs till 24th of November, will feature a host of Olympic and World Championship medalists. And in cricket, India will clash with Ireland in their 3rd group game of the ICC Women's World T20 in Guyana today. The Indian team have won both of their first 2 encounters. They defeated New Zealand by 34 runs in their opener before beating Pakistan by 7 wickets in the 2nd game. India is currently 2nd in the 5-team Pool B behind leaders Australia, who have won all of their 3 matches and have already booked a place in the semi-finals. And a win for India against bottom-placed Ireland today will give them the last 4 berth. And that's it in this edition of Midday News. Thanks for watching.